Hey gang, Tom here with Sweet and Salty with Tom and Manny. And for a little while we're going to be discussing things like libertarianism and in what situation you might find yourself being. If you like this, you might be a libertarian. So, libertarianism, the libertarian mind. You know, when you get into the mind of a libertarian, it can be a scary place. Libertarians are diverse as most political leanings, and what this book seeks to provide is the context a libertarian society might operate. Okay, and last week we discussed some basics history. You know, because we started as a libertarian society, we rebelled against a monarchy and no taxation without representation, all kinds of nonsense like that, and since and took advantage of the fact that they were so far away, it was tough for them to run any sort of dominating war against us, and we kicked some butt. All right, so society has definitely evolved since those days, but the principles that were laid out in the things like the Bill of Rights, which are among those are our first 10 amendments to our Constitution. They all speak to the idea that we are a republic. You know, I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands. To me, a republic is one where the individual is protected from the majority. Okay, a simple majority is 51%. So keep that in mind when you realize how inefficient that becomes. That means that 51% of any particular group can decide what happens to 49% of the group that disagrees with them. Built into that whole idea is an extreme inefficiency and a waste of taxpayer dollars. But I wanted to break down, what Mr. Bose here delineates what represents a libertarian. And the first one is individualism. The second is individual rights. The third is spontaneous order. The idea that, we humans, we're going to, in any particular group, we're going to establish order, okay? The rule of law, limited government, really important, free markets, the virtue of production, natural harmony of interests, if you will, and peace, okay? So I'm not going to go real deep into this, but if you are against war on foreign soil, if you're against the idea of sending our young people to fight and die on battlefields that are primarily there for, even though they've been presented as patriotic reasons, they're really for business reasons. If you're against that idea and you'd like to bring those kids home and stop creating so many wounded veterans and so many widows, then you might be a libertarian. Okay? If you are for small business, if you believe that somebody that wants to start a business and take that risk, because if that person is not any good at that business, that person will fail. If they are good at that business, they will succeed. If you want to keep government out of that process, and basically running a protection racket, we'll give you a license if we like you. If we don't like you, we're not going to give you a license. And if we do give you a license, we're going to take a piece of your profits every time you make some, for no other reason than we can. So if you believe in the individual's right to start a business and employ people and make a success out of their life, you might be a libertarian. Okay? So there's very good reasons to be a libertarian. You don't have to be 100% libertarian. That's one of the things, is that we accept differences of opinion, and what we don't accept is anybody that infringes on the rights and property of another. Okay? So we believe you can be anything you want to be, do anything you want to do, as long as you're not infringing upon the rights and property of another person. So you can think what you want to think. You can express yourself, whether your political leanings are over here, your political leanings are over there. You have a perfect right to do that. I will defend to the death your right to be wrong or right. It doesn't really matter, as long as you also respect my right to be wrong or right. Okay, so in that case, you might be a libertarian. But with that in mind, let's just briefly go into individualism. Libertarians see the individual as the basic unit of social analysis. Only individuals make choices and are responsible for their actions. So it's not a matter of just, being free to what you want to do. You have to be responsible for those actions that you take. Okay? Libertarian thought emphasizes the dignity of each individual, which entails both rights and responsibility. The progressive extension of dignity to more people, to women, to people of different religions, races, and sexual orientations is one of the great libertarian triumphs in the Western world. So if any of that strikes true for you, you might be a libertarian. Okay, so think of it this way. Let's look at the state legislature. Right now it's dominated by Democrats. And there's a basic inefficiency in there in that they get to have their way, if you will. And whereas, what a libertarian would see would that there should be like 5 or 6 different political parties in there with no one dominating, and nothing gets passed unless it's a supermajority, 2/3 of everybody. So you're going across party lines. You must work across party lines every single time if you want a particular bill to pass. So it's got to be really an important and well-written law or regulation that you're trying to carry forward, because you're getting so much diversity of agreement. And that, from a libertarian standpoint, is far more fair and protects the individual from onerous regulation or laws that only apply to a particular subset of society and don't apply to the populace at large. So if that makes sense to you, you might be a libertarian. One of the biggest paucities in our society is common sense. It's not very common. And if you can only apply that to what's happening at the state level, at the county level, at the federal level, and realize that there is no common sense in it, it's all about influence and payoffs and corruption. So the other thing I would like to see is make it illegal for corporations to lobby any legislature. They should not be allowed through the front door. If they're good enough at what they do, they don't need to pass legislation that benefits them and eliminates competition. Okay, so think of those things as we move forward, as where do you find yourself in agreement with the idea of being a libertarian, and maybe casting your vote as a libertarian, because you finally reached that point of we've just had enough, because the two-party system has gotten us into this and gotten us this far. If that is not a reason to change the way you vote, I don't know what is, and maybe common sense hasn't visited you yet. So, let common sense prevail. Have a wonderful day. This is Tom with Sweet and Salty with Tom and Manny, and vote libertarian, and solve a lot of problems in the world. Let's bring our troops home.